Let's go back to where it all began.
Once upon a time, before the world carried the internet in its pocket, there was one name everyone recognized.
So what happened? How does a company that once defined the future end up becoming a cautionary tale?
So what happened? How does a company that once defined the future end up becoming a cautionary tale? The Dynatac 8000X, that massive brick phone from Wall Street movies, that was theirs. In the eyes of the world, Motorola was unstoppable. Snobla. By the 1990s, their pagers and flip phones were everywhere. The company had one of the strongest engineering cultures in the world.
Because while Motorola was busy perfecting hardware, the rest of the world was learning to perfect software.
Then came 2004, a moment of magic face, or maybe the beginning of the end. The Motorola Razr V3 hit the market. It was the thing. But here's the thing. Success has a way of blinding you. While Motorola was celebrating, a quiet storm was
When
forming.
the iPhone launched in 2007, Motorola laughed. It's just a touchscreen toy, some executives said. People want buttons. Real phones have buttons.
Ah, yes. The classic moment in every downfall story. Arrogance disguised as confidence. You see, Motorola believed technology alone would save them. They believed that better chips and sharper displays
And Motorola didn't get that memo. While Apple and Google were creating ecosystems, Motorola kept building gadgets.
Wave. By 2009, the company was bleeding money. Their market share, once towering over everyone, had failed. They tried to reinvent themselves. The Motorola Droid was their last great stand, a powerful Android phone with an
Because even though Motorola made good phones, they didn't understand the story behind them. Apple told stories, Motorola told specs. And in business, stories always win.
Intelligence were running a turf sentence. By 2011, Motorola was split in two, and Mobility and Motorola Saloons.
Let that sink in. Google didn't buy Motorola for its soul. They bought it for its paperwork.
Verdadi Maze. A few years later, Google sold Motorola again, Typhoon, this time to Lenovo, for less than $3 billion.
From Hello Moto to silence. That's how fast the future forgets.
They were still pitching optimism when the audience had already left the room.
Inside Motorola, the atmosphere was thick with confusion, brilliant engineers trapped under poor leadership, the kind of tragedy that feels inevitable in hindsight.
The Razr was more than a phone. It was a fashion icon.
Steve Jobs said, "An iPod, a phone, and an internet communicator, are you getting it?" Meanwhile, Motorola was still bragging about battery life. By then, ego had replaced innovation. Everyone wanted to be right. No one wanted to listen. So Google didn't buy a company. They bought an insurance policy, a wall of patents to fight Apple. Motorola's legacy reduced to legal paperwork.
The end didn't come with an explosion. It came quietly, with moving boxes and polite goodbyes.
Motorola didn't fail because they stopped innovating. They failed because they stopped imagining.
Inside those labs, the same brilliance that built the future was now chasing the past. Innovation had become nostalgia.
They were trying to win a war that had already moved online.
They mocked Apple, they fought hard, and for a second, it worked. But a spark without a flame can't light the way. Because even though Motorola made good phones, they didn't understand the story behind them. Apple told stories, Motorola told specs.
By 2009, the company was bleeding, market share below 5%, from top of the world to a name fading from memory. They tried to reinvent themselves, but reinvention without direction is just noise.
The Motorola Droid dropped their last great stand. Sleek, powerful, unapologetically bold. For a moment, it felt like the old fire had returned.
For a brief moment, it worked. People noticed. but it wasn't enough.
Because even though Motorola made good phones, they didn't understand the story behind them. And in business, stories always win. By 2011, Motorola was split in two, Motorola Mobility and Motorola Solutions. The soul of the company was divided. The mobile division, Skuin, the one that had defined the company Scummed, was sold to Google for $12.5 billion. Google didn't buy Motorola for its soul. They bought it for its paperwork. A few years later, Google sold Motorola again, this time to Lenovo, for less than $3 billion.
What used to be the titan of mobile communication had become just a passing brand name.
Motorola's story isn't about failure. It's about what happens when success makes you stop listening.
They weren't evil. They were just trapped in their own brilliance, convinced they knew better than the market.
The future doesn't belong to the one who invented it. It belongs to the one who adapts to it.
Motorola built the phone that connected the world, but when the world changed, they refused to pick up the call. And maybe that was the most expensive missed call in history.